What's going on, guys, and welcome to a brand new video. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about, as you see by the title, just talking about a bunch of players. Are they going to leave? Are they going to stay? And then players, of course, that are 100% going to leave, and then players that we really need to keep to build around the squad for next season. So let's get into it. And this will be my last video before the transfer window, which is probably, I don't even know, 15 days, I think, until it opens. But this is going to be one of my last, this is going to be my last video until transfers start opening. And then we'll talk about players that might be joining, players that have joined, because I think we're going to have a busy window because the squad seems a bit short. Like, we need some players. Whether that's not even just starters, bench players that can do it, have an impact. We need some bench players because Fark doesn't trust the bench last season, and we saw how we didn't use the bench that much. So maybe Fark just needs to get some players in that he trusts to use off the bench. But anyway, let's get into it. And let's start off by talking about the players that I believe are 100% going to leave. I think we'll start off with that. First of all, let's talk about Crescencio Somerville. Let's talk about him. I think we need to make sure we stay strong with this as well with Somerville. Like, don't take an offer, wild. I think there was something about Leverkusen did 17 million, and I think we rejected it, which is good because I don't want us to be stupid about it and us to rush him out basically and not get the money that we deserve for him, which in my opinion is a minimum of 30 million. I did a poll on my channel. I think the most percentage was between 30 million at the lowest, 30 million at the lowest, and I'll be happy with that. 30 million plus, it'll be good for Somerville, and I think that's what we'll get and what we should get. That's why I don't want us to be stupid and rush the transfer and not actually wait for other offers to come in. Like, we don't have to rush it. We don't have to rush anything at all. We just have to stay calm, keep it on the ground, which I think the 49ers will do very well, and wait for the perfect offer to finally say, there you go, we'll take that much. And the other one we'll talk about also is Nonto. I don't think we're going to get the exact same amount for Nonto. From my opinion, maybe 15 to 20 million, I think we'll get for Nonto. I think that's my opinion. Yeah, and I'm fine with Nonto leaving. I want to know what you guys think about both of them leaving. Of course, I don't want Somerville to leave, but of course he is going to leave because he's the best player in the championship last season. And yeah, Nonto for me, I'm fine with him leaving because I think we're fine on the wings part. Dan James will just play there, and I think the other side will be Jorginho Rata next season, as I will be getting into him later on in the video. But that's my opinion on those two. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I do understand that we do probably have to sell Somerville, and yeah, Nonto will probably leave as well. There's new rules apparently might be coming into the championship as well, where we'll be close to breaking those rules as well. If they do change the rules, I saw something on Twitter about the rules changing. Don't know anything much about it, but well, yeah, I heard and I saw the stuff that said like clubs that are close to breaching it, and Leeds are on there. So I don't know what the rules are, and they want to change it again, and they want to change the spending or something in the championship. So yeah, those are the players that I think will sell Nonto and Somerville 100%. There might be a couple more that leave, and we'll get into those right now. The might leave. Now we'll start off with Gruev. Borussia Dortmund actually came in for Gruev, which is a surprise out of nowhere. For me, it was a surprise. A bunch of clubs have come in actually for Gruev, and we've rejected him. And Borussia Dortmund were one of the big clubs that actually did come in for him. But for me, I want to keep Gruev. I think Gruev's a great player for us, and I think he can do a great job next season. He needs a partnership with someone else that doesn't pass sideways, which in my opinion, next season will be Ampadu. I think Ampadu and Gruev will play with each other, next to each other, and that goes into my next player, Kamara. For me, I would sell Kamara. I know some people may say, oh, but it's a thing of like Gruev and Kamara cannot play together. Do you sell Kamara on, or do you sell Gruev on, or do you keep both and have one option off the bench? That's a possibility, but if we have to get rid of one, and if you have to get rid of one, I would choose Kamara to get rid of over Gruev. I think Gruev is just a better player all around. I think his passing's better, and he's not scared to take a shot. How many times this season did we see Kamara not take a shot? And someone else in that position that he was in would have had probably 5 goals this season, 4 or 5 goals this season, in my opinion. I think we could sell Kamara, but would I be fine with keeping him? Yes, if he stays on the bench, I'm fine with that. Or if he started and Gruev was on the bench, I'm fine with that, depending on who's playing well at the time, of course. But I do think Gruev's a better player than Kamara, and I would rather keep Gruev than keep Kamara next season. And that's just my opinion. Another player that might leave, I mean, this is probably not going to happen, but Patrick Bamford, let's just talk about it, like the price and how much money he's on. No one's going to pay his wages, so I do think he'll stay. I think his contract ends in 2026, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, but I don't think people will pay his wages, so I think we'll keep him, which for me puts me at a thing of saying, well, for me, it was saying that we can't sell him because no one will pay his wages, so we have to keep him. Do you get rid of Pirro? do we cut our losses with Piro? Because I don't think we'll get bad money for Piro. Piro still scored 14 goals this season. He doesn't work in the system, but he scored 14 goals. So could we see a situation, where we sell Piro for 12 to 15 million and we basically break even of what we paid to bring him in? We sell him for the exact same amount we bring him in, around the same amount of what we did to bring him in. We could see that happen and have Bamford as the backup, and then you bring in another striker to challenge Bamford. Because in my opinion, just Bamford works so much better in the system than Piro, and I think most people that watch football and watch Leeds United can agree with this, that Bamford's the better player for the system. The only problem with me with Bamford at the moment, like I love Bamford, like one of my favourite players, my favourite player probably. But the big problem with me is his injury history and his injury record. He was out at the end of this season as well. He gets a lot of injuries, but that's like the main problem. Like him playing's nothing wrong with it. Like we saw when he came in January, what happened? The team just changed. I know he wasn't the only one that came in January, but in the team in January, but he was a massive part in that, of the team just changing in the front line and changing in the attack, and how he opens up space is great. And if he can stay fit for an entire season, which that's the problem with people saying, and that's the problem with him in general, is he's not going to stay fit for an entire season, is he? But if we could guarantee 100% that he'll stay fit for the whole season next season, I'll be fine with him being our number 9, because I just think he's that good when he is fully fit. That if he was fully fit for an entire season, I wouldn't be surprised if he was the top goal scorer in the championship. But but I don't think Bamford will leave. I think we will keep him. And next up, this is what I'm going to go on to need to keep. Basically, what I think will build the team around next season more. These are the players that I've been, they could leave, but we need to keep. You know what I mean? Let's start off with Archie Gray. A lot of clubs sniffing around at Archie Gray. You know how young he is, 18. Great, can play right back, can play in the midfield, can play. He's versatile, can play everywhere basically, and he was in our team at right back, while not being a right back at 18 years old is great for him. And he's just a great footballer, and we need to keep him because he needs to be part of this team, in my opinion. He's a massive part in this team. Whether he plays right back next season or gets put back into midfield, like the thing is, I look at our midfield and I just don't see him getting back in the midfield next season. Do you play him and Ampadu, and then that means you have to sell either Gruev or Kamara, one of them, or you have both of them on the bench, which I don't think we'll do that. So I do think that's what's going to make us sell either Gruev or Kamara, because we can't have 4 midfielders. Gray, I don't think gets ahead of Gruev. I don't think he gets ahead of Kamara, and I don't think he gets ahead of Ampadu. And that's not based on quality, that's based on what I think Farke will do. I don't think Farke will play Gray ahead of Kamara or Gruev, or of course Ampadu, who I think is our best midfielder, when he can go back in there when Struck's back next season. Struck is another player I want to talk about with injury records, and injury history starting to creep up on him season after season. I mean, he missed 12 games this season, I'm pretty sure. He's starting to get a similar injury record to Bamford, he's out injured, he's out injured for a while, and then he'll come back. He's been a massive miss this season, and I think he's a great centre back. But do we need to bring in another centre back? I think we do, because we don't want to take that risk again next season. Because if we had Struijk this season, I think we would have went up. If we had Struijk and we were able to play Ampadu in the midfield, I think we would have went up. And that's a player where I go, yeah, we do need a centre back to be there if Struijk gets injured, or to be the starter if, he can push Struijk out the team if Struijk's not performing, which is good to have competition in the squad. So that's Archie Gray I wanted to talk about, and I think I could honestly see him playing right back again next season. I could actually see him playing right back again next season. The other 2 players, I'll start off with Dan James. Southampton, there was links with them. I think Dan James is massive next season. I think Dan James next season will be our best player. If I had to say early predictions for player of the season at Leeds United, I'm going with Dan James. I think he'll just be our best player next season. If he plays like he did this season, and he shows the fight he did this season, you could the reason why I love him is because of the ability. What he's shown on the pitch this season was amazing. Assists and goals. He's been he's improved. He's shooting. He's crossing. He's improved shooting. The main thing, like we all said beforehand, he's not going to finish many chances. His shooting is not the best on target. This season, he has changed that all around. He's been great in front of goal. He's been a very great player this season. And with Gnonto and Somerville, how good they've been, it's been hard for Dan James to get in the team. Even though Dan James did push Gnonto out, and in my opinion, should have come back in when the playoffs started, in my opinion, or just before the playoffs. I think Dan James was better than Gnonto. This season, I think Dan James was better than Gnonto, and I think Dan James has to be a starting winger for us next season and is a massive need to keep. Another need to keep I have here is Jorginho Rata. Now, I don't think he'll leave with the price, the 30 million we paid for him. Something like that. Was it 25, 30 million we paid for him? I don't think he'll leave this. Like, he'll stay, in my opinion. But I put this on need to keep of like, do not sell him. I don't think he'll play the 10 next season because I do think we'll bring in a 10, but I do think he'll be our other winger. So our two wingers will be Dan James and Rata. I could honestly see that being the partnership of our two wingers next season. And honestly, I'll be happy with that, going into the season with a Dan James and Rata. I mean, we know how good Rutta's been this season, even in the 10, the way he just beats the players, the way he just skills past players with his strength, ability and skill, and like the flair, the tricks he has on the tricks he has got on him. And if we can see that on the wing as well, could you imagine what stuff he does in the middle of the park where he like beats 3 or 4 players? Do that on the wing, he beats the one man he has to beat, and we have a massive chance in on goal, and he's running in on goal, and I think he could be a massive part this season on the wing more than the center in the 10, because I think he'll be similar to our Somerville last season. Probably not as good as Somerville was on the wing, of course, but being the winger that cuts inside and beats a man or two, and cuts like the player that will cut inside and beat a man or two, like Somerville did this season. Rutz's problem is shooting. He can't shoot, so maybe he shouldn't do that. Maybe every time he cuts in, maybe he should just put a ball across the box, basically, because I do not trust him having a strike, so I don't want him to start doing what some people were doing and trying to bend one. Just cross it in. But yeah, Ruts is going to be very important this season. Dan James is going to be very important this season. Gray is going to be very important. I say this season, you know what I mean, the season coming up. Those 3 players are a massive need to keep. And, I only talked about a couple of these players because there's obviously players that we know are going to leave. Another player I could honestly put into need to keep is Firpo. I mean, Firpo this season, if he can have the form he did this season coming up, then I'm happy with him. Like, he's been great this season, last season, whatever you want to call it. The season just gone. He was incredible, since January as well. Like, I think he will stay, hopefully. I do want him to stay, but there is a bit of me that might be like, he might go back to Spain. Someone might come in for him because of the way he finished the season, how good he was towards the end. But I do want to keep him. I think Firpo has turned a corner, and he's turned a lot of fans into like, yeah, he's good enough. He's good enough to play at left back for us, and I would keep him at left back. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below of every player we've talked about, and maybe even any more players that you want to mention in the comment section of we need to keep, or they should leave, might leave, or 100% going to leave, or whatever. All the categories I actually talked about today. Let me know in the comments down below. If you like the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you all next time. Peace.